Hi, it's Vicky here, and today I'm going to walk you through my art journal essentials. There are many art journal styles out there, and if you ask me, you can art journal with just a marker and a box of colorful pencils. So what I'm going to show you today is what works for me these days. But remember, art journaling is not all about the supplies, but it's about having fun while creating. The art journal that I'm using is a Moleskine, and it's the large sketchbook. The dimensions are 5 inches by 8 and a quarter. It has a nice hardcover with an elastic closure and a bookmark ribbon, and it comes in red, and I think it also comes in black. But what I love about it is that it's about 110 libras paperweight, which makes it thick enough. It's acid free, and whenever I feel that I need more thickness on the pages, I always make sure to stick 2 pages together. I do add dimension to my pages, not too much, but most of them do have some dimension. And what I love at the end is that I end up with a nice bulky art journal, which means that it was really loved. But remember, you have to use what works for you. If you have an old notebook, then just use that one. If you feel that the pages are too thin, just stick many of them together. Gesso always helps to make the pages stiffer. Now, if you have an old calendar or an old book or a notebook like this one that I have with lines, don't worry. All you have to do is stick pages together and then gesso the pages so you get rid of all the background. Or you maybe want to have that background, and look at this one that has craft pages. There is also the option to work on separate pages, and at the end you can bind them with bookbinding techniques or just with a spiral. Just use what works for you. Gesso is essential for me. I have already done a 101 on gesso, which I'm going to link below, so you can find out why I'm using it and how. Among other things, gesso prepares your surface, so it's a primer. Now, it comes in black. There is also clear gesso, and the most common one is white gesso. You can find thin gesso like this one, which is nice and liquid. Hope you can see that. This is by Faber-Castell. And also you can find a very thick gesso like this one by Ranger. I'm going to demonstrate how these two work and why you need one or the other. Now, first of all, I'm going to be using the Faber-Castell gesso, which is very liquid, and this is great for gesso washes. Since I'm working with a white gesso, I won't be demonstrating on a white page. Working on this craft paper will help you understand what I'm talking about. So you can see I'm applying easily this gesso, which is very runny and liquid. I usually call this a gesso wash, and in my art journals I usually do that over my background if I want to fade it out or to push it more at the background. Now this is thick gesso, you can see it doesn't move, and this is great for creating texture with your spatula on top of your page. I'm going to lift the page so you can see, and I hope it catches the light for you and you can see what I mean. However, if you are just starting out, you don't need both. I would recommend to get only the thick gesso if you are starting out, and if you want to have a thinner one, then all you have to do is to just mix it up with water. Another medium that I'm using over and over again on my art journals is matte gel. Now you can find this in with different names, and most of you get confused. So you can find it with the name of matte medium or gel medium or multi-medium, but they all do the same thing. If you open up a jar, you'll see that it's white, and that's why most of you get a bit confused with gesso, and I'll show you what's the difference. So you can see they are all white, but they do dry transparent. This is actually a glue, and I use it as a glue on my art journals just to stick down all my elements, as well as to cover up my paper if I want to have a non-porous surface at the end. You can find gel medium in glossy and in matte. I never use glossy, so as you can see here, I always make sure that it writes matte on top. And I don't use glossy because I just don't like my pages to be glossy, that's all. And I'm going to show you the difference now, because I get so many questions about gel medium. So this was the page with gesso, and I'm just going to apply a layer of gel medium. You can see it's white, but once I apply it, it's milky and it will dry transparent. I wouldn't normally apply a layer of gel medium just over a page. I would use it only if I had to stick something on top. But just for demonstration reasons, I'm just applying a thin layer there, and I'm going to dry it with my heat gun. So you can see now that it dries completely transparent. It will dry nice and matte, and you almost won't be able to tell where it was applied. Another medium that I'm using again and again on my art journals is modeling paste. Now you can find modeling paste with different names like Whipped Spackle by Faber-Castell, or embossing paste by Ranger, or modeling paste, but they all do pretty much the same thing. They add texture and dimension on your layouts. I'm going to open up one, and this is modeling paste by DecoArt, and although this one looks white, it pretty much dries semi-transparent. But the white embossing paste by Ranger, as well as the one by Galleria, Winsor & Newton, do dry opaque white. So I am going to use some embossing paste over a stencil so you can see what I am talking about. At this example, I'm using my spatula and I'm taking just a bit of embossing paste. A little goes a long way in this technique. I'm going all over my stencil, and you can see how that adds some dimension and texture on my background. Modeling paste or embossing paste comes in different colors, so you can get a silver one, like this one, which is a metallic one, and also it comes in gold or black, and you can find lots and lots of colors in the market. However, if you are starting out, I know that you can't get every color out there at the beginning. So I'm going to show you how you can color your embossing paste and get any color that you want out of white. So I would basically recommend to you to get only a jar of white embossing paste, and you can color it pretty much with any medium that you have, whether it's acrylics or an ink or an ink pad or whatever you have. At this example, I'm going to color my embossing paste using Gelatos. I am going to add a bit of color on my craft mat, and then I'm going to mix it up with my embossing paste. I'm using my spatula to make sure that it's nicely blended. Notice that you will end up with a lighter color than the color that you have started out, and that's because you are mixing it with white. The trick here is to start with a couple of shades darker color than the one that you want to end up with. If you are watching my art journal videos, you know that I go back to my tissue paper again and again. I love this tissue paper that comes in a roll, which is by Tim Holtz, and I have a few of those rolls in my stash. I just love using a piece of paper on my art journal layout at the beginning. I think that this is a quick way to start a layout, and you get rid of that scary blank page. There are many printed tissue papers in the market, like these ones by 7 Gypsies. And don't forget napkins as well as tissue papers made for decoupage. They are great for your art journal base. And also you can create your own printed tissue paper. Just use tissue paper and your stamps. Another favorite supply for my art journaling is stencils. I use them to add texture and dimension with my modeling paste. I have a huge collection of stencils, and you can see some of them here. And of course you don't have to use only modeling paste over your stencils, but you can use your paint and go over them with a sponge or your brush, or even use your sprays. Stencils actually provide an easy way to create layers on your layouts. Now, some of my favorite stencils are the ones by Tim Holtz. He has a huge collection of them, but I know that if you are starting out, you can't get all of them, and you don't have to actually. I would go with a texture stencil, like the one with the dots, and to start with. And I would also get one with an alphabet on top. Now I'm showing you a couple of them here. But I think that if you are starting out, a great choice would be to go with a stencil that has a totally random texture and another one that has alphas or numbers. Of course, you can expand your collection of stencils and start getting more different fonts of text, as well as different random textures like dots or chevrons or stripes, or you can go with those gorgeous floral stencils. These are by Penny Black, and there are many brands in the market that come out with stencils. And as you can see, they come in different sizes. These 6x6 square stencils are just amazing. They are from the Crafters Workshop and they have an amazing collection of stencils and they are quite inexpensive. So this is another favorite of mine because it is random and you can use it everywhere. And this is a great suggestion. I would recommend to get this because it has different patterns here and there and you can use parts of it on different layouts. So if I was just starting out and I had no stencils at all in my collection, I would probably go with this one, along with, one with alphabet. So you can just go ahead and get those two. But it always depends on the style you want to get, and its art journaling is so personal that you can't really suggest anything to others. Anyway, I'm just letting you know what works for me. Now there are stencils by Prima as well as by Simon Says Stamp, and this is by Christy Tomlinson as well as by Ranger. I am linking to all the supplies on my blog post, so make sure to join. And if you are looking for the blog post URL and you are watching on YouTube, check the details area just below the YouTube video and you will find a link that will take you directly to the relative blog post. So now let's go back to stencils and I'll show you how you can make your own stencils if you have punches or if you have a die cutting machine or a digital machine. Now you can use any transparency. This will work great if you want to reuse your stencils. And for this example, I'm going to show you how you can use your own stencil just out of a scrap piece of cardstock. So I'm going to be using my punches there. I'll just punch out a few of the images. I randomly picked up some of my punches. And I know that if you have been scrapbooking or making your own cards, you should have some punches or dies. So if you are starting out and you want to get a few supplies and your budget is small, then you don't have to buy stencils at the beginning, just make them yourself. And as you can see, they work perfectly well and have the exact same results as the pre-made ones. And always remember that the thicker the cardstock, the more dimension you will get on your project. And you can go as thin or as... And you can always apply a thin layer like I did for the butterflies or a thick layer like I'm doing here for the dots. And it pretty much works exactly the same like the plastic ones that you get from the market. You can still scrape off the rest of it and just put it back in the jar. And I can easily use the same stencil that I just made again and again. Now check out the dimension that I got on the dots where I went a bit heavy with embossing paste. I just love the effect. When it comes to add color to my art journals, I usually reach out for my distress paint. I love my distress paints because they come in a variety of colors. They have this sponge dabber and they dry permanent. However, before they dry, I can easily manipulate the color and even use some water to make the paint even thinner. It comes in metallic colors and they keep coming up with new colors every month. How to add color on your art journal is totally a personal preference, and it's so difficult for me to recommend a type of paint for you, but I would go with an acrylic paint. And if you don't have access to distress paints, why don't you use any acrylic paint that you find? Another great choice is to use those acrylic paints which are made especially for mixed media. They are by Deco Art and they are fluid acrylics. They are so easy to apply, and they have more or less the same attributes like the distress paint. They have an amazing range of colors, and I'll show you how fluid they are. Just let me grab my notebook and I'll just drop a dot there so you can see for yourself how fluid they are. I think that I've used them in a couple of my art journal layouts. So anyway, you can just get any acrylics that you find in your local craft store. The same line by Deco Art, the one that's called Media, it also comes with metallic colors, so you can get silver and gold, etc. And they also have in their line some sprays. So if you love using sprays on your art journals, you can always use those. I rarely use sprays on my art journals. Maybe never, and I don't know why. Maybe I am in a no spray phase or something, but I might dive into them at some point. One of the sprays that I do have, the whole collection, and they are just amazing because they are very vibrant and there are tons of techniques that you can do, are the ones by Dilutions. And I am sure you can find tons of videos on YouTube on how to use them and all the techniques that you can do with them, just because they react with water. They do not dry permanent. So when it comes to coloring your pages, I would recommend to use any type of color that you can find on hand. I do find that I reach for my distress paints again and again this period of time, but depending on what you love, you can even use your watercolors, your chalk pencils, inks, your markers, you name it. Another medium that I love to add color to on my art journal pages are gelatos. I love using gelatos, and they are nice and soft. They come in a variety of colors and you can get them separately, so it's quite inexpensive to get just one stick of them, or you can get them in sets. Now I love it because it reacts with water, and there are tons of techniques that you can use for your art journaling layouts. And if you are starting out with art journaling, I wouldn't of course suggest you to get this set of with tons of gelatos. You can just get a couple of colors to try out the techniques and find out if gelatos are for you. Stamping on your art journal isn't necessary, but it's a technique that I really love. I love to stamp my quotes on top of my art journal pages, and that is why I have a collection of alphabets. You can see a few here. And I also use again and again the tall text stamp set by Tim Holtz, and as you can see it comes with uppercase and lowercase letters as well as the numbers. And another set that I'm using is the worn text, but you can always write down on your art journal with a marker, or you can print out the sentiment, cut it out and stick it on top of your pages. I prefer to stamp my quote, but that's totally up to you. And when it comes to stamps, I would recommend to get a set with various patterns like the ones that I'm showing you now. They come with different textures, so you can just stamp here and there on your layout and create different layers. I think these are a must, and they are very versatile, and you can use them in every layout that you are making. Just one of those sets would do. Another great idea to cover up areas on your background is to use those big stamps that they are usually called background stamps, and you can easily cover up bigger areas of your layout. So if I was just starting out and I had no stamps at home at all, I would probably go with an alphabet stamp and stamp set with textures and a script stamp. All those big stamps are by Impression Obsession, by the way. Now, depending on your budget, just keep in mind there are small, little inexpensive stamps that can add texture, so you can grab some of those. Those mini texture stamps by Prima cost, I believe, only a couple of dollars. And if you're going to stamp over your art journal, then you need some ink pads. My favorite ink pads for my art journal layouts are the ones by Ranger called Archival ink. I love Archival ink just because it dries permanent and the ink will not move no matter what technique I'll do on top. And if I was just starting out, I would only get the black one to stamp my quotes. And now let's go to my favorite supply. These are my big brush markers by Faber-Castell. I think they really define my style on art journaling and I love them to make my shadings. I just can't live without them. As you can see, they have a nice brush tip and they come in a variety of colors. I don't even have all the colors, but you don't really need many of them. This marker has Indian ink and the Indian ink dries permanent. However, if you are working on a non-porous surface, you have a few seconds to move the ink around. Now I have just drawn a line over the gel medium and you can see how nicely it blended, and down at the bottom of the page it did not have any gel medium, so you can see that the ink didn't move at all. Now I'm going to do the same text with my Copic markers over gel medium. It doesn't move, and over the page without gel medium, it doesn't move also. So you can see that you can do the same technique with just any alcohol marker. I'm also going to use Spectrum Noir, draw a line there over gel medium, and it doesn't move. And again over the part of the page that hasn't got any gel medium. So you can use your Indian marker and move the color when you are working on a non-porous surface. Gel medium does provide the non-porous surface, and that is why I usually apply gel medium over my focal points, so I can do some shading all around them. And now if I was just starting out and I had to buy just one of those markers, I would probably go with Caput Mortuum. It's number 169 and I keep using it again and again. You have probably seen me using this brown marker on almost all of my layouts. For doodling or for sketching over my art journal layouts, I love to use my Essentials pens by Faber-Castell. They are just the same ink like the big brush markers, but they come in smaller colors with smaller tips. So you can see it comes in extra small, medium and bold. I'm going to showcase how nice they work. This one has actually a brass tip, and that's the bold one. The next one is the medium. I do use it quite a while. Actually, I don't use the bold one at all. And the one that I go back again and again is the small one. I just love how thin that is. Remember that those markers have Indian ink, so they dry permanent, and they still have the attributes of the big brush markers, so you can blend them with your fingers if you like. However, just let them dry as is, and I never do blending techniques with those small pens. Now I also love my gel pen, and this is a Signo Unipol, and I'm going to showcase how I work with it, because I get a lot of questions that it doesn't work properly for you. Now if you find that it doesn't write nicely, just clean it with your finger and just start it out there, just like I'm doing now. Make sure that the ball is working perfectly and then use it on your layout. I'm going to showcase it again over a darker color of cardstock so you can see better what I'm doing, and I'll give you a few more tips. If you press hard and if you draw fast, you won't get a nice effect. Look at here how nice line I get. And I'm going to zoom in better for you, so you'll see that now I'm just drawing fast and I'm pressing hard and I don't get a nice result. But I'll make sure that it dries correctly. I'll start it with my finger and I won't go very fast, and also I'm not pressing at all. I just let the ball slide on my paper and it works perfect every time. I hope these tips will help you out, because I get so many questions that you can't really work with this pen and you can't get nice results. I never had any problems with my gel pens, and I really have a lot. I just buy them in bulk. And I'll show you a few more supplies that I can't sit down to work with without having them close by. So I need my brushes, and I kind of like those artist brushes by Ranger. They are nice and soft, and they are great for applying gel medium, gesso, and my acrylic paint. I also like to have a spatula close by. I have a big collection of spatulas with different knives, but you don't really need that many. In fact, you can always use just a piece of cardstock and apply your embossing paste and not use a spatula at all. It's always handy to have a date stamp close by, so you can always add the date of when you created your layout. Also, a heat gun is one of my essentials because I am very bored to wait for my paint to dry. I just need to speed up the drying process. And finally, one of my essentials is to have baby wipes close by. They're great for cleaning my mess, my hands, as well as my craft mat. Now, the craft mat is another essential, and I get a lot of questions for this. This is a craft mat by Ranger. It's a non-stick, and you can just wipe off any paint and have always your surface nice and clean. But there are workarounds. If you can't get this one, you can always use a tear-off palette. They come in sheets, and they are just great to work with, and they pretty much do the same thing like my craft mat. So these were all my essential supplies after popular demand. I hope the video wasn't too long for you, and I hope I helped you out decide what you really need for your art journaling. Make sure to visit my blog, where you will find links to all the products that I have talked about throughout the video. Thank you all for watching.